What real estate agent or client can't relate to the saying, be kind, for everyone is going through a battle you know nothing about. Difficult clients, difficult properties, difficulties of going on social media. Welcome to Meet the Agent podcast. I'm Wendy Claire of Juge Interiors. Today, meet Lisa Novak of Novak Properties.
Welcome, Lisa. I did love the first time I came across your Insta. I think the video, one of many, was you drying your hair in the car heater.
It's so funny. That came up on my feed the other day.
I really enjoyed that. So it gave me a bit of a feeling for your personality, which I totally relate to. I love to have fun. One of the questions we love to ask on the podcast is if there was a music star or a style of music that most resembles you.
Do you know what? This is probably not going to be what most people would expect. I've got two answers here. One of them has got to be Flashdance.
What a feeling, right?
What a feeling.
Ooh, baby, meet the agent. She came from out of nowhere.
I don't know why. I've always thought, like, you know, if I wasn't in real estate, maybe I'd like to be some sort of a professional dancer, even though I can't dance to save my life. But I just love the energy and the feeling of that song. Always have, always have. I remember once I won an award, and they asked me if you were to win the award, what would the song be? And that was that song. I just think it's a really good feel-good song. And, you know, the other one is the other end of the spectrum, and that's going to be Cold Chisel K-San, which
Wow.
I love that song. I just think when you've got that song playing, you cannot be anything but super energetic and happy.
Yeah, absolutely. And that really kind of keeps you pumping through this busy schedule, I'm guessing.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. Exactly. That's what you need, right? So we have to run on lots and lots of energy. And I think those two songs definitely do that for me.
And when you're not doing real estate, what are you doing?
Well, that's a really good question. Someone asked me that a couple of months ago, and it was a really hard one to answer. And I have to say, I had 4 weeks off over the Christmas period, and it made me realise that I probably need to do a bit more with my life than just work. I like to travel a lot, but unfortunately real estate doesn't allow you to do that a lot. You know, it really doesn't. So, you know, it would be outside of real estate would be travel, catching up with friends, family. I love spending time with my two beautiful girls as well.
Yeah, and I saw the wonderful shot of you at the Australian Open. So you posted with Novak.
Well, that may or may not have been AI. I definitely was at the Australian Open. As to whether or not we were there with Novak Djokovic, I'll leave that up to you guys to work out.
You were there in spirit, I could tell. It's funny you say that. So what has been your entry and your amazing journey to where you are right now in real estate? And you seem to be, you know, one of the fantastic, you know, women leaders, and there's not enough of them. So congrats to you for that. How have you got there?
Okay, so interesting journey, because I only started in real estate sales when I was 46. I'm now 54. So when you look at all the incredible agents that are out there, a lot of them have been doing real estate for quite a long time. You know, they've been doing it for minimum 15 years. I had to put my career on hold because when I'd been wanting to do real estate sales for a really, really long time. We've got our own business, Novak Properties, and which we've been running for 25 years with my amazing husband, Mark, and all of our incredible team. But the business and the family actually needed me elsewhere, and it wasn't in sales. You know, it's a part of our industry that just, you know, the hours are relentless. And when you've got a young family, like I did 25 years ago, committing to a career in real estate sales just wasn't a possibility. You know, as I said, my family needed me and the business also needed me in other areas, marketing and doing, you know, more of an admin-based job. But I really wanted to be in real estate sales. And, you know, it was only when I got to 46 and our girls had grown up and they didn't need me around as often. And I thought, I need to do this now before I get too old and I run out of energy. So I dived in headfirst at that grand old age. But the wonderful thing about coming into real estate sales later on in life is I think you know, where maybe you don't have as much energy as an 18 or 19-year-old, there's certain elements there that, you know, like confidence. I think that's, you know, that's a big one. And probably not caring as much about what other people think of you. That's another facet, you know, because I think in real estate, sometimes we can get hung up on that. And particularly when you're putting yourself out on a limb and, you know, you're putting yourself out onto social media platforms, you've got to not worry about that as much. So, you know, and as I said, coming in at that age was amazing because I had worked in the background of our business for quite some time. And there was a lot that I was able to reflect on from the outside looking in. You know, it's much easier to read the label of a jar from the outside than it is from the inside. And often I thought, if I ever come into real estate sales, I'm going to do things really differently. And that time allowed me to do that.
Wow. So, yeah, it's not just the transferable skills, it's the wisdom of that experience that is always underestimated, but also having that outside view of how you can change things or be unique and different. That's fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah. So there you go. That's the background.
Well, you're really storming on that front. So fantastic. And tell me, what have been then some of the most difficult things, getting to our topic, or the biggest challenges that you face? And I'm sure you'll have some incredible stories about that as well to share with us. What comes to mind?
So look, the first thing that comes to mind is just the absolute lack of balance that is in real estate sales. And I remember starting out and I had said to my husband, I still really want to go and watch our youngest daughter play Saturday sport on Saturdays. And at that time, he had said to me, of course you're going to be able to do that. But the reality was that couldn't have been further from the truth, because Saturdays, as we know, is game day in real estate. And I built momentum quite quickly. I was fortunate, you know, I worked hard and I had a lot of listings from very early on. And I just, you know, there was no way in the world that I was going to be able to do that. And, you know, as a working mum, that comes with an enormous level of guilt as well. You want to be there for your children. They're our number one priority. Yet my career was taking over so quickly. So for me, that was the hardest thing. And I couldn't work out, particularly in the early days. And listen, it's a work in progress. Anyone that says they've got the balance thing, kudos to you. I haven't found a person yet. But for me, it was that balancing act of going, okay, I'm working 90% of my time and I've got 10% to be able to share amongst all the other areas. So very, very early, I worked out that I needed to get that a little bit better. And for me, putting in these not negotiable areas into my life actually was a game changer, where I'd say, okay, if work is taking over, then I need to just diarise things like I would an open home or like I would an auction. I need to diarise family time as well and make sure that I'm present. So that worked well for me. Tuesday, nothing's changed in 7 years. Every Tuesday night and every Friday night, there is a family dinner without fail. Not negotiable.
I love that. So it went from being wishful thinking into, you know, locked in a schedule. So being very practical about it.
Yeah. And look, that may not work for everyone, but for me, that worked really, really well. It's like it's in the diary and it absolutely has to happen. And look, you know, now the kids are older as well. They don't necessarily want to spend all day Sunday with us. So for them, you know, a 2 or 3 hour dinner on a Friday night works really well. But that's not negotiable. As I said, it just works. We commit to it and it works and everyone's happy.
Yeah. Have there been any difficult moments with the clients that you want to share with us? I mean, I'm sure that's also a really tough thing. You've got the relationship with the kids, but also with them. And I mean, one of the questions I thought is wonderful to ask you, because you'd be really candid, is, are there things that you just shouldn't say in real estate as well? That clients,
Yeah.
for example, I'm not an agent, wouldn't really know and understand.
Look, I think, the thing is, and the hardest thing that I think an agent finds in our industry is to be completely honest and transparent. Like when you go to a doctor, if they've got bad news to deliver, they're not going to sugarcoat it, and you owe it to that patient, or in our case, to our client, to be completely honest with them. And, as real estate agents, we can get things wrong. We go in, we give an opinion of value on a property. We're not property valuers. We are real estate agents, and we can get it wrong. The buyers come through and they're telling us something very, very different. And I think the industry as a whole really struggles to be able to convey the truth to a client. But it's our obligation to do that. It is our absolute obligation. And, I always make sure that my clients are getting the absolute honest truth, whether it's good news or whether it's bad news. They're always going to get the truth from me. And, there have been times, listen, we deal with very, very difficult situations. Sometimes we're dealing with a family and there's been a death in the family. Sometimes we're dealing with a really messy divorce. Sometimes people are in terrible, terrible debt. You can deliver bad news and still be extremely empathetic. And that for me has probably been the hardest thing, is having to deliver bad news when we felt that the market was, at a certain level, but the buyers have been telling us something different. But your reputation is actually built in the mess. It's not built on the best days, it's built on your hardest ones. And I think that's important for people to really understand, how do you communicate when there's bad news, and how transparent you are when the answer isn't what people want to hear.
Right. Wow, that's really interesting. So yeah, it's better for you, like ripping the Band-Aid off in a sense, to get the bad and the ugly.
Absolutely. And that's the thing. Look, clients don't remember the perfect campaigns. They remember how you made them feel when things might have been falling apart. I remember let me tell you a story. I remember I had only been in real estate sales for about a year, and I walked into a listing presentation, and the husband and the wife, they were just on tenterhooks. They weren't talking. They were sitting at opposite ends of the dining table. And I walked in and I saw this pile of listing presentations from other real estate agents. There was about 8 of them. And when I sat down, I said, "Can I just ask you, are they listing presentations from other real estate agents?" And they said, "Yes." I said, "May I ask why?" Because 8's a lot. And I said, "May I ask why you haven't actually chosen any one of them? And I don't even want to open up my listing presentation because I don't think you need to hear another one. But I do want to know, why haven't you chosen any of those other real estate agents? And is there anything at all that I can do to just help?" And that was the clencher. No one actually had stopped to ask, what is it that you need help with? What do you need? Everyone just sat down and went through their pitch and forgot to actually ask the client, what can I do to help you? What do you need from me?
Wow. So it's like you're...
And I ended up winning that listing presentation. Yeah.
I bet. I mean, I would have hired you absolutely on that too. Oh, that's actually really eye-opening. I love that. I mean, I suppose too, it's about that longer goal, isn't it? So, I mean, I had a situation, talking staging, which is a little bit related, where, they asked me to give a quote on the place, and I had to say, look, if you have only set amount of money, you actually really should put it into painting, because there's an it factor here that the staging is going to be at odds with. People go, well, beautiful bed, but that wall really looks old and ugly. And it's like it was a divorcee situation. There were so many bad vibes. And I said, I think the best way to kind of give this place a new life is paint it white. And I actually offered, look, I will go in there with the spray gun paint thing instead of the 20% discount I'd offered your agency, I'll do it for you for one quote, just because,
Wow.
you need help, and that's the best way to do it. And
That's right.
And I never heard back from them. And I saw later that they painted the whole interior white, as I'd suggested, and the exterior, and they sold it. And whether that was staging with someone else, I don't know. But I never heard back. I didn't get any Google star reviews, but I thought I kept my integrity. I could have probably got the job because they were trying to do it with staging instead of, actually doing the house. But I don't know. I feel honesty in the long term is really going to be what's more important, isn't it? Which is what you're saying.
Absolutely. And, and that's the thing, right? People will never forget the way you make them feel. That is the truth. There's, there's no commission, there's no marketing, there's no amazing campaign that can override that. People will never forget the way you make them feel. I had just to tell you another story. Again, I'd only been just early on in my real estate career, and I didn't have that many listings at the time, and I decided to do the letterbox drop that everyone does, and dropped it out to all over DY. I'm based over on the Northern Beaches. Anyway, I get this phone call from this lovely lady, and she's got a property that she wants to sell, a little 2-bedroom, very entry-level apartment in DY. Anyway, she liked the fact that I was a lady. She was an older lady, and she was quite an unwell lady. She had Parkinson's disease, so she was quite vulnerable. Anyway, her carer actually had called me, and the carer said, look, I wonder if we could organise a time to meet in this cafe. I said, sure. Anyway, we met and we chatted for 2 hours. Beautiful lady. We had lots and lots in common. And she said, look, I'd love to put you on. I'd love you to sell my property. List the property, get an offer, and it was $700,000 at the time. This is going back 7 years ago. And my client said, we'll take that. And I said, I actually think we can get you a little bit more. I don't think that's the best offer. I do think that I can get you a little bit more. Just hang in there. I think we should wait until Saturday. Anyway, I ended up getting her an extra $25,000. She never forgot it. She never forgot how I looked after her. She called me up about 5 years later and said, I've got a property that I'm looking to sell in Manly, and I wonder if you could come over. Anyway, went over there, and she had this incredible property that was almost on the beachfront in Manly. Little did I know it was one of Manly's best properties. It was an area at that time that I hadn't serviced a lot. We ended up taking that property to market, and it sold for $21.5 million. Broke the record in Manly, still holds the record in Manly for the highest price ever paid per square metre. And so, that was all from a little 2-bedroom apartment that was entry level. But again, she never, ever forgot the way that I had treated her at that time. And, I, as I said, I had never sold a house in Manly at that time. That changed things significantly for me. But, you've got to look after people. I always say it's the crumbs that make the cake. I think often a lot of agents will get hung up on the fact, listen, I get people asking me all the time, you don't sell apartments, do you, Lisa? I think, you only just do those prestige homes. I'm like, of course I sell apartments. I've got a beautiful 1-bedroom apartment that I'm selling at the moment. And then I've got multi-million-dollar houses that I also sell. It's the crumbs that make the cake. Look after people. It doesn't matter whether that commission is $15,000 or $150,000. Treat everybody equally.
Yeah, absolutely. I just love this too, having this podcast, getting to hear this story from you and from others, because, it just strikes me how, traditionally agents get such a bad reputation, and obviously the underpricing, overquoting, blah, blah, blah. And hearing these particular examples from you really shows that's, not always the case. And it's about finding those genuine people. And they're there. I'm only scouting and scheduling genuine, generous people, and people love listening to it for that reason. I think you find the same with your podcast.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And you know what? Just be inexcusably yourself as well. You can't be all things to all people. I lose listings too. I don't get every single listing that I've gone, that every listing presentation that I've gone into. But do I go in there and give it everything I've got? Yes. Do I offer a wonderful service? Absolutely. Am I being myself? Absolutely. Are they getting the same person that they might have seen on a signboard or on my social media? Are they getting that same person? Absolutely. And so that's the best I can do, but I can't be all things to all people. And I think, when agents lose out on listings, they'll often beat themselves up about it. You just weren't the right person for the job. There are times when if I've lost a listing, I think to myself, I feel sorry for you. You would have been in the greatest hands. You would have been so well taken care of. But if they were shopping around for the cheapest agent, I'm not going to be it. I'm definitely not the most expensive, but I also don't want to be known as the cheapest agent.
Yeah.
So, but they will get well looked after. But I'm very good at saying to myself, dust yourself off, pick yourself up and keep on going. Because otherwise you're going to miss the next one as well. You can't be all things to all people.
Wow, right. And you mentioned social media there. I mean, that is just such a different world too. And I can see how it must be very difficult. And a lot of agents actually have huge networks and things, but they don't necessarily have Insta happening. It doesn't mean they're not, just as good as the agents with 20K Insta. But I'm interested to know, like, tell me, do you get trolled on social media? What experiences have you had there?
So, funnily enough, I actually don't. I don't get trolled a lot. I not to say that I haven't been, I have, and I had actually had a really bad experience with it, which I'm happy to share, but I actually don't get trolled a huge amount. And I think maybe the main reason for that is because the following that I've got is purely organic. People are only following on my social media if they want to. Right? I haven't promoted my social media. There's no ads that are done. There's nothing sponsored. There's nothing boosted. It's all just purely organic. So you're only there if you want to be. There's two things that happen when people get trolled. They're either getting trolled, which means someone's just come on and made some sort of a stupid comment, whatever that might be. And it's very simple. You can just simply block that person. The other one is when people are actually genuinely being bullied. And that is what happened to me. I got bullied. It was a couple of years ago. Someone popped up on my Instagram and they had said something about the service that I offer, what I do with my social media and the pre-market that I offer and a $0 marketing campaign, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, initially, I thought it was just some good constructive feedback and, I was responding, and then it turned really, really nasty. And, I kept writing back saying, this is really uncalled for. I'm just going to block your comment. And that's exactly what block your profile. And that's exactly what I did. And this person kept popping up elsewhere, emails, Facebook, Instagram. He was everywhere. Anyway, then I thought, you know what? I'm not going to let this guy off the hook. I am actually going to shine a light on him, and I'm going to gather up some phenomenal people in our industry, because when I had put it out there onto my social media that this was what was happening, I had that many people contact me saying, oh my God, Lisa, I have a terrible story to tell.
Wow.
And they were too scared to speak up. And I thought, this is crazy. And these people need to know that there are things that you can do about it. So I called on Tom Panos, who obviously many people know. And I also called on Lisa Jemison. Lisa Jemison is one of the best real estate lawyers in the country, if not the best. And we got on together and we actually did a show about it. It's never okay to be bullied. It's like being bullied at school. It's never okay, and you do need to speak up about it.
And it doesn't
because
stop until you do stand up to it, right? Like the whole, I'll just ignore it, doesn't work.
it doesn't work, and it doesn't stop. And you really do need to shine the light on what I say, the other cockroaches. You do need to do that. But there are a lot of laws and legislations around that now. There are. And there are things that you can do. And the social media platforms also will take it very, very seriously, and they will act on it very quickly as well. But there are definitely things that you can do about it, but you should speak up.
Yeah, and particularly because if he's targeting you, he's probably targeting other women in real estate in your area. So they often won't know as well. I had that happen, and I discovered all the kind of leading women in my network had all been targeted. And when we all mentioned it, it was like, oh, that's one. So well done, you. Really interesting. And hey, how fantastic to get Tom Panos, you know.
He's awesome.
How did he react? Like what there must be some story there.
Oh, look, Tom was great. And look, he first of all, he's such an amazing advocate for real estate. You know, he does so much for our industry, but he's also been a target at times. You know, I mean, I've been on many of his interviews that he's done on social media, and I've seen it happening myself live. And he's great. He'll always call them out. But he was wonderful. You will be able to dial back through my social media posts and you will be able to see that interview there. It was about a year and a half ago, actually. So feel free to, any of your listeners can feel free to go back and watch it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, what is it like for you being a podcast host? I mean, that's a wonderful thing about having you on. And you mentioned about Tom doing that. I mean, it's very new for me. I'm so in awe that you're fitting that in with your incredible real estate business and busyness. But tell us more about that experience.
I would say, give a job to a busy person if you want to get it done. But it's something that I'd wanted to do for ages. I'd really wanted to do a podcast for ages. And a good girlfriend of mine is Imogen Callister. She runs a company called The Media Coach. She looks after a lot of social media content for lots and lots of great agents all around the country. She's also an incredible trainer as well. And she's a great friend of mine. And I thought, we'd be really good together just talking about super authentic, down-to-earth stuff that maybe people just never talk about in our industry. You know, now we've done, I think we're up to about 25, maybe more episodes, and it's been doing really well. It's been doing really well. There's nothing scripted. You know, often we've had some phenomenal guests on there, including, you know, international people, and we've had Tom Panos on, and it's just been awesome. It's been really well received. It's done a lot better than we ever anticipated that it would. So we're super grateful for that. But I love it. Love doing it. What I found was I think people struggle to just be themselves. And I think it's the fear there that people are going to make judgment on who they really are. But once you're actually comfortable with just getting onto your social media or getting onto a podcast and just being inexcusably yourself, it's actually quite a freeing space. It's quite a freeing space. It really, really is. And if people don't like you, if people want to ridicule you, you know, that's fine. I don't buy into it. You know, there was a lot of noise about when I started doing my social media. I started doing it quite early on into my career. And there was a lot of noise from the industry because 7 years ago, like, there was no way people were putting unpolished things onto social media. You know, videographer was a major big deal then. Everything was pro photos and pro videos. And there I was popping up on social media, just going, you know, just unscripted and really raw content.
And blowing your hair in the heater.
Yeah, that's right. There was a lot of noise around that. And I just, you know, it was hard, but I pushed through it all. I really did. I pushed through it all. And, you know, as much as I'd have people calling me, real estate agents calling, going, Lisa, this is really embarrassing what you're doing. Like, this is extremely unprofessional. It's not great. It's not great look for you or for your business or for our industry. And I was like, that's okay. Thank you. I really appreciate the feedback, but I'll do me and you do you type thing.
There's room for both, isn't there? I mean, you know, we've got those splashy, wonderful agents out there, like, you know, Tina O'Connor. She is so beautifully presented and polished, and that's who she is as a person. I love it, and it's fantastic. And then, you know, we've got room for, you know, the other side. I mean, I'm in the coast as a headquarter, and people don't wear makeup there, so, you know, I'm struggling to find that confidence as well to just, you know, as you said, be me. But it's out there. Either way is all good. I'm interested to know. I mean, you're obviously, you know, being yourself out there 24/7, which is so courageous and liberating. Is there anything still that you wish people knew or understood about you?
Oh, that's an interesting question. it's hard being on all the time. It is, because at the end of the day, we're all human beings, and you do need to tap out sometimes. I think I've gotten a little bit better at doing that. It's been hard. Like, I've had to really concentrate on tapping out because, I'd go on a holiday and I wasn't on a holiday. I was just lying to myself. It's like, oh, no, I'm on a holiday. I'd be overseas, but I'd be up all night on the phone for work.
Wow.
I've gotten better at that, but I've had to really concentrate on doing that. I really have. And I think it's important for people to understand that it's okay to do that. It's okay to actually just completely shut off from work. I had a client who had contacted me the other day, and he said to me, I couldn't believe it when you told me that you went back until the 19th of January when I called you during Christmas and New Year. And I said, I know, I've gotten better at doing it. And he was so happy for me.
And everywhere she goes, everyone already knows her.
Thank you so much for joining us, Lisa. It's been just as fantastic as I expected. And thank you everyone for listening in. I'm Wendy Clare, and this series is proudly supported by my interior design and home staging company, Zhuzh Interiors. Join us next week for another episode of Meet the Agent podcast.